judge you by your dog. If your dog is friendly and outgoing and buoyant with happiness, then I'll assume you're a pretty cool person yourself. If your dog is a tiny ratty thing with a not-so-tiny bark that it has no problem inflicting upon the general public, then you have earned my silent, ultimately ineffectual judgment. Ralph White has a hell of a dog. I bring this up because frankly, I don't feel like I really got to know the man. I wouldn't necessarily describe him as evasive or unapproachable. I suppose after some reflection I realized that it simply seemed that he wasn't particularly eager to get his story out there or hungry for the exposure that the show would bring him. And I don't mean he was aloof or above it all. I mean he simply seemed perfectly comfortable with his life and felt no strong desire to justify his existence. I cannot think of a more alien concept, so of course, as is my way, I often found him to be intensely intimidating. I spent a day with Ralph and his dog Stella, and came away feeling like I had a good sense of who he was, even if the finer details of his life continued to elude me. Listening to Ralph speak is a lot like listening to Ralph's music. Free-flowing, improvisational, circuitous, occasionally confusing, and more than a little hypnotizing.
And I was in this band called Beret Texan in the '80s, and that's when I started playing accordion, and we played all this really cool old French traditional music from like the turn of the century and stuff. And there's all these tunes called played lots of bourrées, and so I have this repertoire of French tunes that I played on the accordion. But anyway, like a few years ago, you know, when I was like learning all these tunes that were from my own particular culture, like Sid Barrett covers and things like that. I have all these like French instrumentals. I have to go let the chicken keep the chickens from coming.
And this is how I got to know the man. Through his dog, through his friends, through his music. Sometimes it feels like most people have an autobiography mentally written, and they're ready to recite it at a moment's notice. Ralph, though, didn't seem obsessed with his own life story, and maybe he doesn't need to be. Maybe he feels it's all there in his songs.
I never thought I could lose my mind and see from places I could never find. Without your guide, rippling tide, I'd be broken down inside. Well, the river goes from place to place, and there we tumble face to face. And the heron, she spread her wings with grace and flies on to the other side.
Ralph's friends, and Ralph himself for that matter, are characters with a capital C. They are completely of their own world. This is Jonathan Horn.
And I walked up to him and was like, oh my gosh, that was ridiculous. I remember him doing a Syd Barrett cover on top of some other melody that was probably 250 years old. And I just moved from Appalachia when I went to college, and Ralph just made me feel really good about being here. And I think Ralph was kind of like, well, that's cool, but I wasn't really playing Appalachian music.
Nice, thanks. I have a warm. Well, thank you. I'll just take the compliment.
He's always growing and always learning and always showing me new things that I would have never considered. Yeah, it's like this childlike intuition for knowledge, but he's such an intelligent, capable of doing anything adult. I guess musically, the thing that's the nicest for me is he really encourages me, and that means a lot.
This is Walter Daniels.
He had just done a tour on the East Coast, and I had done a trip to Spain, and we come back and just meeting a lot of indifference here in our hometown. I mean, it happens, good nights, bad nights. There's nothing you can do about it, to some degree. And yeah, he took it with great humor, And I love to tell people, one of our shows, I say, hey, there's going to be a kalimba nose flute interlude. You don't see it too many places, so come check it out. Ideas of his are coming to fruition. He's recording himself. Great. I think it takes a while to get used to his voice, but I think actually he's an awesome singer. I love his singing.
And then there's Amy.
It's like he just kind of sprung straight up out of the hill country limestone, and he's got cedar dust all over him, and he's got a river kind of running through him too. So. Well, we fell in love. I think that Ralph and I kind of traded off a bit of energy. Like, he traded off a bit of his strength and his groundedness, and I kind of gave him something else. Musically, we kind of stoked fires under each other. I think that love can assume many different forms, over the course of a relationship with a person. And just because it didn't work out with us, being together as a couple for the rest of time, it's like our relationship has just kind of evolved into another connection.
What Ralph and his friends have in common is that they don't spend any energy trying to distance themselves from sincerity.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. Oh man, I love it.
Believe me, I want to do a recitation, a spoken word experience about being a school bus driver. I've realized now I wanted to do this for a really long time, and it's a dumb record that probably only a few people would like people like Red Sovine or something, but I'm going to do it. I will do it one day.
The song is like a mystery waiting to be explored again. And whether you've written it yourself or it's a song that's been around for hundreds of years, there's no reason that those two songs can't reach out across space and time and high-five each other.
More and more, I find that the people I like the most are the ones who aren't afraid to just express their joy, or be excited by a weird idea, or talk about songs high-fiving each other. These are the people for me, the ones who are guided only by their passion.
Well, I started working self-employment when I was about 20 or so, and I've actually, I've done a lot of construction. I've worked a lot of hourly stuff like that, and I've worked for various other tree trimming companies. But I started getting work by myself, and it's always been something in order to, supplement my musical endeavors, But I'm obviously in a type of music that's a little bit far from the regular roots of bringing in money through music, And so if you want to pursue something like this, you have to have another job. When that was what the Bad Livers was, really. That's about as far as I went in that direction.
And he's obsessed with music. A lot of people play music. A lot of people are really good at music. But he plays music. Like the other night, he called me and said, "Yeah, I just been playing the Catfish Blues for the last 16 hours." He finds a song and falls so madly in love with it that he can't put it down,
It's encouraging to meet people like Ralph and Amy and Walter and Jonathan. It's not like they like everything, it's just that they're not dismissive of anything. What I mean is, if Ralph White makes weird music, it's not because he's taking a bold stance against the so-called ordinary music all around him. No, he makes weird music because that's what comes out of him when he sits down with his guitar or banjo or kalimba. And he makes no judgment against any other types of music.
Yeah, and I also think, most people that play classic styles of music, and I really have respect for that, like blues, like all the kind of music that I actually play. I play Cajun music and I play country blues with people, and I do play, various styles of music. But whatever I do, it just because it comes naturally, sort of. And I don't know what my point. I lost my point. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not very good at copying a style.
Ralph couldn't copy something else if he tried.
Well, I mean, it's out of your hands, the reception that you'll get, and there's only, you don't have any control over that. So, I mean, I feel, Ralph, I are probably on the same wavelength. That, I mean, you just do it and move onward, and that's all you can do, really.
It seems like it's more recently that he realized that there was a whole kind of grassroots community of people like him where they weren't like academically recreating folk music. They were actually people who were kind of reaching into their own spirits to find the music and to find the connections and bringing them out in a whole new way.
You don't have to feel like you need to be cool around people like that. You just gotta, if they want to hang out with you, then it's great. And if not, oh well, that sucks.
Characters with a capital C tend to be weirdos. Weirdos tend to be isolated, and isolated people tend to reach a point where they start to hate the world.
Are you looking forward to the show on Thursday, the house party thing we're doing?
Yeah, that's right up here. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I sure hope Jonathan can make it, but whoever makes it, it'll be good. Amy and I will play some songs.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
In 2010, we gathered up the freaks along with Colonel Leslie on the banks of Old.
That house right there is where Charles Whitman lived, the infamous sniper. And whenever we walk by there, it's another house that got yuppified and turned into a big old rich person's mansion, and we would always have a loud conversation about how the fact that Whitman lived there, just in case they didn't know that.
And what I see when I see these folks are people who have learned that you can be weird and not hate the world. I'm still working on that second part. I think meeting guys like Ralph is helping. I'm learning that someone is confident in their own art when they aren't busy tearing down other people's art.
On the street right here.
Yeah.
At 2:30 in the morning after eating breakfast at Kirby Lane. I took a left here. I was all ready to go home and listen to the late night radio talk show. I knew they'd have something real interesting to talk about right about now. And there's this girl right here in the middle of the street, popped out, covered with blood.
Oh no.
And sobbing. And I went, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And she said, I said, have you been assaulted? And she said, oh no, I was just at a show. And then I put it all together immediately, so I didn't really freak out long. Guar. I read in the paper that Guar were here, and Guar always spew fake blood all over the place.
Now I'm just picturing Ralph White listening to Guar. It's kind of awesome.
We could take them by surprise if we didn't sell our houses and we didn't tell them why. Held our houses till the dollar hit the skid, then we opened up the fiddle case and flipped our lids. We fired our guns and the yuppies kept it coming. There was twice as many as there was a while ago. Fired once more and they began running on down the Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico. Well, they ran down first and they ran down Congress. They ran through the bushes where a rabbit couldn't go. Ran so fast the freaks couldn't catch them on down the Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico. That fiddle till the bows burned down.
Grabbed an old guitar and played it around.
Well, we filled the streets with music and we scrambled up the brains.
Instead of building castles, they were singing our refrain.
We fired our guns and the yuppies kept it coming. There wasn't as many as there was a while ago. Fired once more and they began running on down the Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico. Well, they ran down first and they ran down Congress. They ran through the bushes where a rabbit couldn't go. Ran so fast the freaks couldn't catch them on down the Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico. That one goes out to the people that live in the Ramada Inn right down the street.
Ralph White has a hell of a dog. And he's got some great friends who also have great dogs. And he plays music because he doesn't know how not to. I won't pretend to know any more than that. Hell, he didn't even recognize me when I went to interview him one last time. But I can't help but feel that he's communicating who he is in all of his music anyway.
I think of Ralph as an old soul, and a cantankerous one at that. But I think, yeah, he just inhabits a song.
He makes weird music. I don't mean this as an insult, but as a simple statement of fact. He makes weird music, and that says a lot about him. Because being weird leaves you vulnerable. Because rejecting the cool means that the cool reject you. If I've learned anything from my short time with Ralph, it's that if you stick to it long enough, then eventually you don't even think about it at all. You just make the art you want to make without a second thought, without feeling like you have something to prove, without feeling the need for validation. I told him that I struggled with this, that I always wonder if I should make something more conventional. I told him I often think that I'm flat out doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that. I do that all the time too. Yeah, I definitely am not very. Only recently have I gotten confidence, and I'm 60 years old. You know, so
That gives me hope. Because I still haven't learned how to be good at being a weirdo. It's the unfortunate lot of people like us that we often end up alone because we've faced enough rejection in our lives already and don't wish to welcome in any more. It's all rooted in a very simple fear of loss. For example, I've always loved dogs, but resisted getting one for so long because I was terrified of the deathbed scene. And for the first few months I had my dog, I would lay in bed and play the deathbed scene in my head over and over and over. Keaton, my best friend, old and broken, waiting to be put down, still wagging his tail meekly when I say his name, his paw stiffening in my hand as the needle goes in. I know, right? Look, I've mentioned my girlfriend's accident before. I don't want to dwell on it, but it does matter to me. This is how I found out about it. I was driving home from work and I was annoyed because we were going to a wedding that afternoon and I was tired and sweaty and really didn't feel like it, and the police had blocked off one side of Airport Boulevard. When I drove past, I looked over and saw an orange scooter. I saw a green purse. I saw a glass water bottle. Oddly enough, it was the water bottle that did it. That's what made me realize that this was real and that orange scooter that was smashed, ruined, totaled, was hers. It was really hers. I sit by her bedside. She's in a coma. I try to joke, well, at least you got me out of the wedding, but choke on my words before I can say them all. You see, this is what's at stake. This is why I wanted to be alone. This is why I was alone. Because this is a bad scene. And when Keaton dies, that will be a bad scene. And when my friends, because I'm finding that I have some of those now, start to die, that will be a bad scene. Is this what I open myself up to? But see, I'm getting better at this. I am. Now, when I get like this, I think of the good scenes that I get to experience. A gathering of friends, old and new. That's a pretty good scene. My dog sitting in front of me with his chest sticking out and his ears pinned back, ready to receive affection. Waking up this morning to find that Alex had stayed up all night putting up Christmas decorations just for me. The first time Alex sat up after her accident. I took a photo of that moment. I'm not going to show you. That's just for me. She has a drugged up grin on her face and her catheter bag is framed fairly prominently and she doesn't remember any of it. But I can genuinely say that that was the best moment of my life. And when I'm on my deathbed, I hope that I have the strength and will to remember all this stuff. I know myself. I know I'll despair for at least a moment and think about everything I'll be leaving behind. I'll think, maybe I should have stayed isolated. Maybe I should have stayed alone. But if there's one thing that I've learned in this life, if there's one thing that pushes me forward, if there's one thing that I believe in, it's this. Man, you gotta have something to lose.